The next fella that's going to come up here, he may not make as much money doing cowboy poetry as a few of them out there, but I will guarantee you this much: you will not find a finer cowboy, a better cowboy poet, or just a finer person, period. I have known him for about 2.5 years, and ever since then, at least I think, he has been my friend. I consider him a friend. And you won't find a finer fella anywhere. Folks, Jay Snider.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it, Putnam. And friends we are, I can guarantee you that. It's good to be here. This is my second trip down here to the Red Hat Hootenany. And I'd be willing to bet that you couldn't find another red hat between here and Guyman, Oklahoma. I don't know how many of you had to send off to get those red hats. But I know there's not one left in Lawton, I promise. It's good to be here. The food was really good. I had a really hard time deciding which dessert to take. So I took the mincemeat pie because I always ate it when my grandmother cooked it, and it's kind of one of my favorites. I don't know who cooked it, but my compliments to the chef. I wrote a little poem kind of on the same order that Robert wrote that song. Took me 3.5 years to finish it. And at that rate, in about 30 years, I'll have a book published. So y'all be looking for it.
We're going together to split.
Yeah. Robert and I going in partner. This little poem, kind of a true story. Most of it's true. Happened on a ranch down in North Texas, and happened to a kid that is originally from Wisconsin. And a friend of mine that owned the ranch hired him just to give him a chance on this ranch. And Tom Morehouse is the guy's name that hired him, and I was impressed with the fact that he had hired this kid from Wisconsin that knew absolutely nothing about cattle. He rode horses pretty good, but are you kin to him?
You better believe it.
Well, I'll go easy. I'll be as gentle as I can. This boy, he's a good boy. He's about 17 years old and a good kid, and rode a horse pretty good, but knew absolutely nothing about cattle. So I was impressed with the fact that Tom had given him a chance on the ranch, and I wanted to write this little poem in tribute to Tom and do something really eloquent and philosophical. Well, y'all know how I write, don't you? Anyway, sometimes when you start writing, they don't turn out just exactly like you want them to, so I just entitled it a tribute to Tom anyway. We didn't know where the kid called home. He just wandered in one day. He begged and pleaded with a wagon boss. He said he'd darn sure earn his pay. We could see he weren't a cowboy by the way he spoke and dressed, but something about him sort of struck a note. He was different from the rest. And we could tell old Tom was leery because the kid was darn sure green, but he had a kind of sincere way that we'd seldom ever seen. So we convinced old Tom to hire him on. He said he'd make the kid a place. Well, you could have lit the darkest room with the light in that kid's face. So Tom cuts him out a seasoned horse so as to keep the kid alive by break of dawn that frosty morn. The kid was making his first drive. And Tom sent him on a circle, said to ride the canyon rim, but by the time he made the branding pins, his old horse was a-leading him. But he'd wade right in, I'll give him that, be it luck or be it fate, because every time we'd cut a dry, he'd be a-standing in the gate. But at the branding fire, he seemed compelled to sure enough make a hand, so we stuck him on the flanking crew so's to really test his sand. Well, the first calf run him over, kicked the pocket off his shirt. By the time he got him flanked and held, his boots was full of dirt. And Tom had yelled to bring the iron. The kid was Johnny on the spot. The end he grabbed was cold as ice. The end he handed Tom was not. But what the heck, the kid's got spunk. He healed old Nasty's calf and drug him through the branding fire, prompting me and Tom to laugh. Till old Nasty come a-hunting for the thief what stole her kin. She give old Tom a hook and launched him up and out the pen. So Tom commenced to school the lad on vaccinating calves, but now old Tom will be bangs free and the black leg he won't have. So we put the kid to cropping ears, but it give the boy the heaves. In between convulsions, he swallowed forked Tom's sleeve. Now the boys agree he'll make a hand, on that I'll bet my life, but we figured till he seasoned some, we'd not give the lad the knife. Then my head began to reeling, swelling up with cowboy pride, because the kid's success ain't relevant. It's just simply that he tried. But facts is facts, and I'm proud to say we kept the boy alive, but had we had to school him twice, well, poor old Tom might not survive. Thank you. You see what I'm talking about? They don't turn out just exactly like you want them to every time.
There's a difference between milk cows and cattle.
Oh, between milk cows and cattle? What is the difference?
Turn around.
Turn around? What for? We'll discuss this after the deal. Okay? All right. How many of you saw the movie The Horse Whisperer? See lots of hands. Good movie, huh? Robert Redford. I kind of like old Robert. Don Edwards was in it. I liked the movie, but I had a little trouble with the whispering part of the deal. You see, if I got one at home that I had to whisper to, some of y'all was going to own him pretty quickly. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought that might be a pretty good idea for a poem, so I tried to put a little poem together with that in mind. Now this poem, this poem's kind of like roping goats. Pretty hard to track at times, so y'all gonna have to pay attention. And if you don't stay up, it's not my fault. Imagine you're a cowboy, and breaking colts is what you do, and you've honed your skills for years and years, and other punchers look up to you. Now imagine it's late October, and it's just now breaking dawn. The first blue norther's blowing in, warm summer days are gone. And you've roped yourself a flea-bit gray, a rangy, wild-eyed colt. Hand over hand you walked ye twine, just about to take a holt, when from underneath the loafing shed you hear a voice, not soft and sweet, but loud and overwhelming. It's your neighbor, Shorthorn Pete. Now Pete neighbors to you on the north across Persimmon Creek, and when you're in the breaking pens, he's by 10 times a week. Now Pete's physique, let's call it picturesque. No, let's just tell it straight. His waistline measures 46, the inseam 28. And his hair is wild and kinky against his head. It's matted flat. It's filthy, greasy, grimy like the sweatband around his hat. The snooze has rotted most his teeth. On one he must have pinned, yet he still spits tobacco juice 10 yards agin the wind. And he talks real loud and boisterous because his hearing ain't so great. His voice is shrill and squeaky like a pig stuck beneath a gate. And when you need him, you can't find him. But when you don't, he's underfoot. And when the going's rank and scary, well, old Pete, he won't stay put. Now, imagine you're the flea-bit gray. And you're just past 2 years old, and some bad bow-legged cowboy's got you roped and in his hold. Well, you don't take it kindly. You miss the freedom of the range, but well, if this puncher gets his way, that's all about to change. Now, he smooched you round the round pen for seems 3 weeks now and a day. And this A-fork's got you sored up some. By gosh, somebody's going to pay. Then Pete stops by to visit, and making matters worse, and the puncher left you bitted up, and you're about to die of thirst. Well, your attitude adjusts itself, because now Pete, he wants to ride. And Pete don't seem concerned at all. Them gut hooks grab your hide. Then Pete begins to squealing in that loud, obnoxious way. And even though you've gentled some, fact is you just can't stay. So you scatter rocks and kick the moon, show your belly to the sun. You bawl and squall and beller like a banshee on the run. You whirl and twirl and pirouette like a ballerina fair. You rise up on your haunches like a raging grizzly bear. You buck and lunge and sunfish to the left and to the right. You squall just like a panther, and you kick and paw and bite. Now, imagine you're old short-horn Pete, and you're just 13 hands tall, and the gray is wreaking havoc, steady bouncing off the wall. So, Robert, did you forget this?
It's contagious.
Okay, his face. So your face turns plumb canary green, and your gizzard turns to jello, and that stripe that's running down your back shows wide and brightly yellow. The snooze that rotted most your teeth now coats the lining of your belly, and the fragrance from in your dungarees don't smell like wild plum jelly. You reach for saddle horn and cantle, grab at airborne saddle strings, while you're hoping and a-praying you could sprout big angel wings. But your backside kisses Mother Earth with an awful deafening smack. And you bounce just like a Shawnee Mills half-empty flour sack. By now the moral to this story should be plain for Pete to see, that he best learn to whisper round them 2-year-olds like me. Thank you. I told you that was hard to track. I got to do a little poem here that I wrote it's been 2 or 3 years ago, and kind of special to me. I wrote it on the way back from Abilene one year at a gathering we did down there, and where it come from I have no idea. Except I think everybody needs a special place they need to go reflect sometimes. So I wrote this little poem called The Pearly Gates. Oftentimes I've wondered about that fabled pearly gate. In my mind's eye I can see it there standing strong and true and straight. And the paint weren't chipped nor faded, and it swung real smooth and free, but Is this gate just for city folk, not for worn-out old punchers like me? You see, I'm not accustomed to gates so grand round our ranch we merely make do. They're not real neat nor fancy made, most got a broken rail or two. So I wonder, when I make it there to that gate so grand and fine, will the good Lord let me ride on through or send me round to one like mine? Like this one here at the branding pins with its worn and splintered rails. Lord, if that old gate could talk, it could tell a million tales. Like at branding time when the wagon's out for weeks there in the spring, or when the hands play a cowboy symphony as their rowels begin to ring. Or in the winter when it's feeding time because the snow is drifting deep and you're wondering where the remuda is rolled out because you can't sleep. That old gate ain't hungry, it'll sturdy, it blows shut when it ain't tied, so you brave the bitter snow and cold to push that gate back way out wide. You see, the horses know protection's waiting through that gate if there's a need, and there's trust and admiration there when they come in to feed. You see, that gate is mighty special, though it's seen some better days. In the spring you see revival through it in the valley beneath the haze. And at that gate, if you listen closely, a wealth of laughter fills your ears. Must be old friends that happened by for all those many years. Because this ranch breathed life for a lot of years into kids and calves and foals, and sunrise still takes your breath away from atop those rocky knolls. So this gate must be the pearly kind, though it's rough and loosely tied. Because when I'm standing there looking through, I see heaven on the other side. Thank you.